video to accompany the Pacific Poker Strategy Guide article. Pacific Poker has some of the looser games on the internet. The flop percentages stated by Pacific Poker aren't as high as they used to be. This might be because the games have gotten a little tighter, or maybe they're just calculating flop percentages a little different. Either way, this video aims to help people with the loose games. The skills are slightly different. You're not going to be trying to bluff people out of pots or steal pots in a loose game as much as just maximize your wins and minimize your losses. It's a more basic type of poker. Let's find ourselves a nice loose long game. Here's a 25-cent, 50-cent game. It's very low stakes game. Can't seem to get into this game. A lot of these games are full. Trying to find myself a... Here we go, here's a table I can enter. Find myself a... It seems that I need to add myself to the waiting list. Maybe I can find a game while I'm waiting on the waiting list. Nope. It'd be nice if they're if they updated their tables a little faster, so you know if you're on. Here we go. Finally, a spot I can sit. Yeah, why not? I'm gonna go ahead and post. Normally, I'd wait till my big blind, but just so this video isn't too boring, I'm gonna go ahead and post on the next hand. So you can see there's 5 people in this pot. Typical nice loose game. Another thing is, you don't just want a loose game. You can, if you want to see if people are raising, and if they're raising, if they're doing it for a reason. If people are just calling before the flop, that's also a good sign, because it means people aren't really trying too hard. They're just calling along. They're not really trying to maximize their wins with the good hands, or use any sort of strategy. They're just calling. And now, if people are raising, it could be one of two things. Raising might mean good players, because good players are very aggressive, but if they're just raising with any hand, you know, they're just maniacs, that's also good. So if they're raising for a reason, that's bad, because it implies they're good players. But if they're just raising with everything, like they're just calling with everything, you know, that's even better, because they're just throwing money in there with trash. Normally I'd suggest waiting till your big blind, but to keep the video interesting, I'm just gonna post. Alright, I'm just gonna stay at this table. This looks like a nice table to stay. Nice and loose. People aren't too aggressive. Just four people here at the flop. I'm not gonna try to bluff at it. Bluffing isn't exactly, you know, the route to profit in these types of games. There's occasions where I'll bluff, just not that many. So this game's only 7-handed. Something to take note of, even though there's 10 people at the table, 3 of them are sitting out. I got myself a trash hand in the big blind. Hopefully no one will raise. This player seems to be pretty loose. The other players call. I'm gonna go ahead and bet this out. Probably someone doesn't have a jack. At this point I gotta slow down. Everyone called. I have a gut shot, but I do not have the odds to call, so I'm going to fold. hands like these, I can play under certain circumstances. I'm not going to play it here. I generally want to see the flop cheap. You know, just call the big blinds, and hopefully be a fair amount of players in the flop. And also in later position, those types of hands work better. King 2 offsuit, this is a hand I'm going to fold. Even though the game's loose and I'm going to be drawn out more, I'm still going to raise with my premium hands like Ace King and stuff like that. A hand like Ace Ace or King King, if I'm in early position, I might limp, hoping someone's going to raise behind me, and then I can re-raise. That only works if people are raising a fair amount at the table. Sometimes at these loose sites, people just end up calling a lot. Everyone just kind of calls pre-flop. People don't really raise, and that's good because it implies people aren't really thinking too much. They're just calling along to see the next card. But if you've got a few maniacs at the table who always raise, it's nice to kind of sandwich in a lot of chips there by, you know, limping, and they raise, and then you raise. So the maniacs have to call another bet. People in between you have to call at least 2 bets. It works out very well if people are raising a lot. Here's a hand I got to fold pre-flop. Even if that hand was suited, I'd still fold it there because a suited connector like that only works well if I can see the flop for cheap and if a fair amount of people are at the flop. So if I'm in late position, I'll probably call there, but if I'm in early position, I need to fold because even though the game is loose, you know, not every hand will everyone be calling to see the flop. There'll always be a fair amount of hands where, like this hand, where only a few people see the flop. So I can't, you know, assume everyone after me will just call and not raise. If you're in the type of game where people actually are always just calling, and no one's ever raising, and almost all the time someone's calling, then you can make that type of assumption, and you can limp with hands like 6-7 suited. But, you know, this game, it's loose and all, but it's not that loose. It's not always loose. I got a fold here. I've already have 50 cents in there because of my big blind, but 2-6 offsuit just isn't exactly the best hand in the world. And that's it for this video. Hope you found the Pacific Poker Guide helpful and enjoyable.